Alright guys, in the previous lecture we were working with props. We had this component here, functional component, and we used attributes, properties. But in this lecture we will work with stats, because sometimes you don't want to get your information outside of your component. You want to get it from inside of your component, and sometimes you want to change it also. For example, let's say we have a button here. Oh, and which says change or switch name. So whenever we click on this button, this name gets changed from the screen. For example, Victor, the name gets changed, or the age. So in order to do that, we should have a state which has all this information from here, all our attributes. So let's go ahead. A state, we should always write it before render function, and it looks like this, state. And also something important, we can use states in components which are extending the component from React. So if we see here, we import React and component from React library, and then our app component extends the component. Okay, so this state comes from React library, and we can use only for in components that are which are extending the component. Okay, so here in our component we have, for example, persons, and this is an array. Okay, and here we have our persons. Let's say name, Victor. This is a char, so it should be like this. And then we have here age, just number, so I'll put 20. Let's put 24. And then we have another person, which is Joe. So I'll write here name, Joe, and Joe is 20 years old. Okay, now here we should have another function which will change our data. But before we do that, let's just replace these attributes here. So right now we have our function here, like our data here, which is in a this is an array and this is an object. So where we have our attributes, we should remove this name from here. We put the brackets here, and then we should write this. This means this object, this class, because this is a class. This is a component, but we made it a class. See, class F. This one from here, it's a function, ES6 function. So when we use this, it means from this class, from this object. So we have this dot state, and then we have person. We want to state, and then we have persons, and the index is 0 for the first person. And then here we have the name, and then we should do the same thing for the age. Copy all the stuff from here, go to the age, replace it, and we should write here age. Let's do the same thing for Joe, but Joe's index is 1. Joe's index is 1, and we just change this to age. Okay, now I'm just gonna save it like this and see. It's supposed to work now. We go back, let's refresh the page. And we see that it works. Let me just change this one too. Okay, just making sure it got compiled. Alright, now let's make this button. We see that we have this button here, but whenever we click on it, it doesn't change anything on the screen. So in order to do that, we should add an attribute which is onClick. Now in JavaScript, we use onClick with uppercase C because of the JSX. In normal JavaScript, we would do like this, onClick, but in JSX we should use capital C. So here we have onClick, we get the brackets, and whenever we click on this button, in order to change this data from here, we should have another function here which does, it's like a handler. So let's say switch name, and I'm gonna use ES6 here, like that. And then here we will say this set state. We use set state is like state. This state comes from the React library. And then here we have our data we want to change. So we want to change the data from persons, and this is an array. Okay, and here comes the new data. So we got the new name, which is, let's say, Victor Russo. This is my first and last name. Okay, and the new age, I'm just gonna put it 25. And then the second person, Joe. It's gonna be Joe, but here we will change just the age. And let's say Joe was 20, now Joe is gonna be 23 years old. Okay, now what we should do here is we should take this name from here, this function, and put it here where we have our onClick. And here we should do as we did for our attributes here. We need this because we want to call this function from this object, and then we have our function. Now we shouldn't put parentheses like that in this case. Okay, so whenever we will click on this button, this the name for this person should be changed, like it needs to get changed. So let's save it. Let's go back to our browser and let's click on the button. So yeah, whenever we click on the button, it changes the name. Okay, let's refresh one more time and just pay attention to this name, age, and then the Joe's age. Okay, click one more time, we'll see it changed. My name is Victor Russo, I'm 25 years old, and Joe is 23 years old. So this is how we change the data inside of our component. That's it for this video, guys. See you in the next lecture.